Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to another fun filled episode of the Crypto Maniacs podcast. We are streaming for you today for your viewing pleasure on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, of course, on YouTube and on the Hive blockchain via vim.tv. I'm John Go. This is Taskmaster 4450. Good sir. How you doing? How's your weekend going? Or how was it? Anyways, because it's Tuesday.
Oh, okay. I was just getting you in stereo, getting duplicate, and realized I had the Threadcast open. I guess it's playing. Actually, I'm hearing it again.
You have it double playing, do you?
I don't know.
I just shut all the windows down except for this. Then you'll only hear this one.
Yeah, I guess I had it open on YouTube
Ah, there we
when
go.
I grabbed the embed code to try to put it into the Threadcast, which today is a challenge.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the elephant in the room is that Threads is kind of having a little issue indexing new threads right now. So if you guys would like to interact with us, you can do it on the YouTube channel. We can see it inside of our stream right here. Or if you are on Vim, you can go over to Vim and say hi. If you're on Twitter, you can say hi too. But it's really, Twitter is great for doing the spaces and stuff, but it is absolutely awful for we're kind of spoiled with Threadcast. I think Threadcast is such a great way to interact. It's hard to keep up on Twitter. No one really comments per se on Twitter if you're doing like a thread, if you're doing a live stream or something.
Yeah.
So if you want to engage with us, please do go to the easiest would be to YouTube, and then we can see your comments right here in chat, and we'll be able to address them. But we do have a few comments from earlier when Task put the Threadcast up. We'll dive into that in a minute here. Get your questions answered. But yeah, how you doing, man? How was your weekend? Did you have a happy L putt? I saw you powered up like 20,000 high Leo or something like that. You're just a beast. But how was
it? Yeah, I had them building, and I didn't do it last month or the month before, and so I said, what the heck? I'll help the numbers out, and went in. I think it was about 24 and change that I staked, which is a decent amount, and it's that long-term vision. I don't know what the percentage of Leo that's in the circulating supply that's actually staked, but it's got to be over 70%. And that's a pretty significant number. I mean, Hive's at about 42%. So that's a difference. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking at when you start to realize diamond hands or diamond paws coupled with revenue. I think that makes a big difference. And so obviously the revenue is having its issues, but we'll work through it. It's like anything else. If it was easy, everybody'd be doing it.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, man. I mean, we're so, last week was definitely rant sessions, talking about the Green Candle gang, the Green Candle people, and that they seem to not only be in crypto, they're around the world, right? I mean, I made this post yesterday on Leo that spoke about people are, it's middle of January now, so everyone's New Year's resolutions, majority of them have quit on them already. Few of them will keep going into February, but 99% of the people will. All those New Year's resolutions will be broken by this time next month. And that mentality is not just in crypto. Long-term thinking is like foreign to humanity for whatever reason. some cultures put it into the DNA of their people and like they get long-term thinking, but I guess Western society just has this microwave dinner mentality where we want it in 60 seconds or less. We don't care what's been added to it. We just want it now, quick, fast, and yesterday.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's let's compare Leo to SoftBank, and SoftBank, is he Japanese, Korean? I forget where he's from. SoftBank has a 100-year plan, 100 years. Let's compare that with Leo. Oh, when's it going to go up? Oh, we've been waiting for a year. We've been waiting for 6 months. We've been waiting for so long. Oh, we've heard about this forever.
Right.
Please. But again, it's, it's why most people end up with nothing in life. It's why most people in this day and age have zero. They will always have zero. I always harken back, John, to that movie Margin Call. And when Jeremy Irons, at the end there, he was with Kevin Spacey, and he was eating his breakfast or dinner or whatever it was. And he was talking about, um, the crashes that Wall Street and the financial institutions have gone through. And he was going through them all, listing them all. And then he goes, it's always the same.
Yeah.
The numbers change, but the percentage is always the same, the haves and the have-nots. And that's the case. It's always the same situation. And everybody who's in the have-nots, it's always the same bitching, always the same moaning, always the same complaining. Oh, the system's rigged. They're thieves. They're crooks. Why don't they give more? All this other bullshit. And ultimately, it all comes down to, and we see this in crypto. Oh, the whales are mean. The whales are huge. They don't give me an upvote. Well, you're an entire little fuck. Why should the whales give a shit about you? Because the reality is, and we've seen this with Hive, and it's with every situation throughout the world. The reality is, first sign of difficulty, what happens? People leave. If you were a whale and you gave a shitload of upvotes to somebody or spread them all around, where are those people now? They're gone. Oh, well, if the whales gave more upvotes, they'd stick around. No, they don't. No, they don't. They leave. They split. Whatever gets up their ass, they leave. And, it's the same way with any enterprise, any organization. They call me dad, and, the ride or die mentality. Well, so few have that in their life in any area. I mean, it used to be in marriages. You'd have that ride or die. We'll do whatever it takes to make this thing last, make it work out. Now it's like, oh, he farts too much, I'm going to divorce him.
Right.
It's and that's across the board. It's like, well, this company offered me $3 more a week. Okay. I mean, it's just, so the entitlement, the give me, give it to me now. When's everything going to moon? The green candle people. It's throughout life, and they're not builders. And sure as shit, Leo takes off. You and I and some others are going to be accused of being lucky, being fortunate, all this other bullshit. And, I'm already at the point where I'm already prepared. Fuck you and die. I don't give a shit. You all had the opportunity to build. You all had the opportunity to build databases. You all have enough resource credits to build the database. If you don't, I would have delegated them to you. And who the fuck's building the database? Task. Who else? Nobody. I mean, it's just the same shit. So, it's really going to come down to those who step up and those who don't. There's a reason why I don't have to go to a job. There's a reason for that. And I'm not rich by any stretch of the imagination, but I've done enough to make sure that I'm not in a position necessarily behind the eight ball like most people. How many people can say that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you're all smarter than me. Yeah, you're all smarter than me when you're getting up and going to your fucking job.
Mm-hmm.
Have at it, you know. And how do you be successful on Hive? How do you be successful on Leo? How to be successful, in Web3? Well, nobody wants to take the advice, so fuck you. I mean, really, it just comes down to that. It's like you're not going to do it anyway, so who cares? Go to your job, piss and moan, get your ass fired, get your paycheck at the end of the week or every 2 weeks, have all the taxes taken out, and be broke.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I wrote an article because talk about dumb shit. Um, there was an article about Instagram, but it was basically talking about Web2 social media. And
Right.
and this one person says they get 900,000 views on Instagram and get paid like $6. This woman. Entitled bitch. Total entitlement. Oh, I only get $6 for 900,000 views. And the basic premise of the article is, well, should content creators be represented by labor? And it's like, are you fucking serious?
Mm.
This is what it comes down to. You're dealing with technology. Have you seen what's going on in robotics? Have you seen what's going on with these LLMs? Have you seen what's going on with image creation? And these people are sitting there saying, well, maybe content creators have to be considered labor. And it's like, you people are foolish. You are foolish. And then you're all going to bitch and moan when AI takes your jobs and how greedy the companies are and all this other stuff. When, by the way, the major corporations are under attack too. Because what's going to stop some Chinese company from taking AI, taking an image of whomever from Hollywood and creating a movie around it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I got a question for you because you're into the AI stuff and technology and robotics and stuff. If let's just poops and giggles. This is kind of going sidetrack here because I see we got some questions in chat and stuff we'll get to. But if you could tell me 2 or 3 industries or jobs that won't be affected by AI or robotics or something like that, what would you say? What would be the 2 things people could look at the future and go, I'm relatively safe? I mean, we're never safe, but what would you say would be 2 industries, 3 industries that aren't going to be affected by this type of stuff?
Well, I'll answer it this way because every industry ultimately will. But well, I'll give you what's going to be disrupted first and what will lag. And content creators are right in the bullseye for a simple reason. If you are in an industry, that's unregulated. So if you're in education, if you're in healthcare,
Regulated.
if you're dealing with autonomous vehicles, anything that has regulation tied to it, just the pace of government, the requirements to change the regulation, all of that is going to serve as a buffer for a period.
You got some years, right?
Yeah. So if you're involved in something like making entertainment, which is not regulated, then you are at risk. The other thing is where there's nothing, where a screw up isn't catastrophic. So where safety or individual security isn't at risk. So again, if my image creating software isn't perfect, it's not the end of the world. If it makes a mistake, I delete it, I create a new image, who cares? Even if it's in my article, even if it's in my video, even if it doesn't matter, it's not the end of the world. An autonomous vehicle screws up, that could have consequences. A nurse, an autonomous surgeon, something like that, those can have life or death consequences. So anything that deals with safety, security, again, because of what's at risk, that's going to be a little slower for adoption. So if you're not in that realm, then again, you are subject to be attacked. But just looking at what's happening with robotics, I would have said go after the blue collar stuff, go into the trades. That's going to be protected for a while, and that will be. Not because the robots can't do electrical or plumbing, they will be quicker than we expect. The
Regulations.
It's not even the regulations. It's the environment. It's one thing to create a robot for a factory. They don't have to deal with rain. They don't have to deal with weather. They don't have to deal with any of that. You go on a job site, you got weather, you got tools around, you got stuff moving, you have one day there wasn't a hole there, the next day there is. You got all these different things going on and taking place. Whereas on a factory floor, the floor's flat. There's no rocks, there's no sticks, there's none of that stuff. You don't have to deal with weather like rain or snow or sleet or any of that. And you can portion things off where you can put the robot in a particular section of the assembly line or a particular section to do what needs to be done, run a conveyor belt by it, and it's kind of geo-fenced in. You don't have that on a construction site. So that's really where I think a lot of the knowledge work, if somebody's sitting at a computer tied to the cloud and looks at a screen all day, and what they're doing can be copied through keystroker software that captures how they enter stuff, that can be captured and the system can learn what people are doing. Those are going to be the first things to go. And, between robotics and these large language models and some of these other things, large behavioral models that they're starting to incorporate in robotics, this thing's going faster than I expected. The only slowdown that I can see potentially is A, processing, and B, energy. I mean, everybody talks about the energy with electric vehicles. Fuck that. It's you know what, these neural nets suck. So, I mean, you start to talk about last year, who was it? Facebook and somebody else. They bought 150,000 H100, which are like $50,000 a pop, and they suck a hell of a lot more energy than the A100. And but the compute on them is light years ahead of the A100s. These are all for neural nets and that type of stuff. And I mean, Tesla, just as an example, ordered 15,000. Facebook or Meta was at 150,000. I forget who the hell the other one was. Google was up there, all the big boys. So, I mean, where are they going to get all the energy to fuel these things and power these things? It's going to be enormous. And so we're going to need major advancements in energy. So that's why I always say, Jungle, nothing operates in a vacuum. And when you're looking at disruption, there's usually a few other things that have to accompany it for it to take place. And you have each area going at their own pace. So energy's going at its pace, processing's going at its own pace, neural networks are going at its own pace, robotics is going at its own pace. So they all go at different paces, and they all seem to be separated till all of a sudden you have the smartphone moment, which was compute, mobile, and internet. And that's all the smartphone was the combination of three different industries that had been advancing for about 20 years. Well, longer than that, but, major advancements over 20 years. Apple just put them all together and said, here. And all of a sudden it's like, and, granted, they needed improvements in battery technology and the screen and all of that stuff. Like they say, you couldn't have brought the iPhone out in 1983. It wouldn't have worked. It couldn't go. And so that's what you're going to get with the AI is at a certain point in time, all this stuff converges. And it's like, that's where the massive takeoff is. And it's like, holy shit, what the hell happened? So, that's where I say you're basically having to, you being individuals, in my opinion, people say, well, how are we going to solve this? Well, the problem is, the age-old system of income being tied to labor could be dissipated. So what's the replacement? And that's the problem. Capital income is always going to be there. So if you own bonds or if you own stocks or if you own, whatever, okay, that's cool. But what's going to replace that income? And I think, to me, that's why people need to get a hold of assets. And in crypto, in Web3, I think staking income is going to be the replacement for, labor income. But, people have to start getting assets, which in the digital world, those can be NFTs. I mean, obviously there's a lot of crap out there, so we'll have to sift our way through that. But, that's why I think something like Hive, Leo, things of that nature are so important.
Absolutely. It's good. It's a good topic, man. Definitely getting people chatting. Let's we'll get there. There's a question right here from John. This is best start on Hive. He posted it here, and I'll read it out here. I have used PeakD front end since I joined Hive. I'm just starting to do my long posts on in Leo for the rewards, but does it matter if I use a different front end to reply to comments? And then he follows that up with, do I need to use in Leo only for reward reasons?
Well, your comments get you author rewards. So again, those fall under the same thing where you do have the penalty. I mean, you're not relegated to do anything. But again,
it's the 5%, right? Like Leo takes 5%.
No, it's 20%. 20% is of only the author rewards, not the curating rewards.
Right.
So 20% of the author rewards, and author rewards are paid on both comments and posts. The system does not distinguish between that. But again, do you really care about 5% on your comment rewards? I mean, if you're doing a lot of commenting, you might be concerned about that. But I think it's a more important question, and it goes back to exactly what we were just talking about, Django, about staking and having assets. Either you're in Leo or you're not. To me, it really comes down to that. Now, you can do and use whatever the hell you want, but posting comments or posting through PeakD does not help Leo. It helps PeakD. And yes, it helps Hive, but it doesn't help Leo. And it's like, if you don't give a shit about Leo, okay, fine. Then you don't give a shit about Leo. That's up to you. But if you're somebody who's in Leo, where's the disconnect? And I know the front end is spotty, and I know it's a pain in the ass at times. But what's the number one thing I've always said, Django, about marketing? Numbers. Get numbers, get trends, then you can start making the graphs and the infographics and the pretty stuff. And that's what they'll you market. Then you have something concrete. Then you have something substantial. But if everybody's using PeakD, then there's going to be no numbers, and people are saying, "What's wrong with Leo?"
I'm gonna be devil's advocate here, and again, you got to remember where this is coming from. I'm Leo fanboy number one. This is coming from a good place. Most people will choose to use PeakD because it's relatively stable. It doesn't have the issues that Leo has. Leo goes down a lot. It's clunky. It seems to load, then not load sometimes. We're having it right now. So I think people, when this is my argument that I've made for years about crypto in general, especially on a Web3 platform like the blockchain like Hive. People don't care what's going on in the background. They don't care about decentralization. They don't care about, if it's a new product. They don't care about, and some do, tastemakers do, people that look in the future, but this is what they care about. When I sign in, I want it to be a seamless user experience. I don't want to fight it. I just want to use it. And if I can't use it, I'll just go to something else. I'm not going to fight with it. I'm not going to complain. Some people do, but generally people just go to the thing that works. So you see that a lot of times a lot of people want to use Leo all the time. I use Leo all the time, but I can understand why people go to Ecency, why people go to PeakD.
I don't say I don't understand it. I understand it completely.
Right.
it may. I'm not saying that I don't understand it, but again, it's just, are you a trailblazer or are you not? I mean, if you want a smooth user experience, go to Facebook, go to Twitter. There's smooth user experience. Go to YouTube. They're pretty stable. Now, there may have been times in their history, and I don't know. I don't know the history of these. I wasn't really using these platforms. Hell, I still don't use those platforms. But there may have been a time where YouTube in its early days was down a lot. Maybe Twitter or Facebook was down a lot in the early days. I don't know.
Twitter was down a lot when it first started.
Was it? Okay.
Constantly.
Yeah, I don't know. But, that's the case with being early. I mean, when I got into the mobile phone industry, Django, I got into that in, when the fuck was it? 95, I think, 94. And I was involved in that and setting up networks and stuff of that nature and the funding of them. And one thing that I remember is at that time in major cities, mobile phone call drop rates, meaning you had already made a connection in like a Dallas, you already made a connection, you're talking on the phone, and then it just went dead. It was over 40%. And then I forget what you hit dial and it rang twice and then you got beep, beep, beep because you got kicked off. That was like it's 70% or something like that. So, that's technology. And one of the reasons why I can talk about technology like when you just asked me is because I've been following this shit for 25 years and the trend and the pace of it and stuff like that. And it's always the same story. The stuff comes out, it's clunky, it's expensive, it doesn't work well, and everybody's worried about the next technology. Oh, won't the rich take over? And it's like, no, the rich will get it and it'll suck. And it'll be garbage technology. It'll be expensive. It'll be clunky. It'll be ineffective. And then version 2, version 3, version 4 come out and they'll be better and less expensive and work better. Now, obviously on a front end, you don't have the costs associated with it, but it's still the same premise. Updates are required. Now, I don't know what the situation is here. This could be a DDoS. I have no idea. You could go into Leo Discord, but hell, most of those people aren't even aware of it because they don't use Threads. So how the hell would they know? I mean,
good point.
Honestly, how the hell would they know? I mean, do you think these people know if you do one thread a day, do you know when Leo's down? You have no clue.
Oh, I do because I'm on Threads all day, every day. I mean,
I'm not saying you.
No, I know in general. No,
on Discord, yeah.
This is Simple Game made a great point, and we've referenced this before. He says that we're basically in the 1995 of crypto. And if you were around the interwebs in 1995, you remember you've got mail. You remember dial-ups, 14.4K modems, baud modem. Like, you remember that was like pulling teeth. But back then, we were so excited. I was so excited to be able to download a picture of the Wu-Tang Clan online. That to me was another level of like, oh my gosh. People don't realize that this was not 50 years ago, that we were literally using our telephone lines to connect to an internet with a big, huge box that sat beside our computer. Like, it's not that long ago. So we really are in the 1995 of the Web3 platforms. So
my senior year in college, I had 2 roommates. One he graduated halfway through. He graduated in December because he took a semester off. So I had one for the first semester, then I got another one in the second semester. And you know how college dorms are set up. You got the beds parallel to each other, then, a desk, dresser in between. And my second roommate that year, he was an early bird. He'd get up about 8 o'clock, which in college time, that's like the middle of the night because, there's a good chance I was only in bed 4 hours at that point or whatever. And this motherfucker would get up at like 7:45 or 8 o'clock. And the first thing he always did was he went and IM'd his dad. And he was on Prodigy, which exactly what you're saying. You know,
Prodigy Net. Yeah.
he had to fucking use the dial up and the dial in, and you hear that screeching noise, which when you're laying in bed and this thing's like 3 feet from your head, and you're hearing this screeching noise, and you maybe have like 5 hours sleep, and you're still half drunk and rest away hungover. This is not. I mean, that'll leave an impression on you.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, that was a long time ago. That was over 30 years ago. But in the history of technology, we're not talking light years. And by 2015 or 2005, so a little over a decade later, we had gone from that to basically Blackberries, and by 2008, you had the iPhone. That's how far things advanced in those 13 years or so. And
Wow.
you go from 2024, 13 years out, who the hell knows where we're going to be, because we're starting at a much higher level with technology. So I agree with Simple Game. If you understand where we are in the grand scheme of things,
We're just learning to crawl.
yeah, I mean, we're just building the minor foundations. I mean, we are not even coming close to ready to fly. So that's where, and what he said about 1995, Facebook, that was about 10 years before Facebook was even started, maybe 8 years. Google, I don't remember when they started. I think it was 97, 98.
Yes, 97, 98. Yeah.
You were still back then in the AOL CompuServe era.
CompuServe, Prodigy, AOL.
So, and where are any of those companies today? I mean, Prodigy, I don't know. I guess they're out of business. CompuServe is out of business. AOL, I think, got scooped up by somebody.
Netscape Navigator.
Netscape, Mosaic.
Which became Firefox.
Yeah, you had, just a whole lot of early innovation that some of it made it. I mean, Amazon was started, I think, in 93 or 94 as a company, but obviously that's evolved, grown, and changed. Yahoo was at one point, by 2000, 2001, Yahoo was the cat's meow, and they ended up as shit. So,
that was the search engine, like before Google, Yahoo, and Lycos.
I think they were the search engine. I think they may have been also the email before Gmail.
Before like Hotmail was like the killer email back then. That was the Microsoft stuff.
So, again, you start looking at these technologies, and you can go into in-home gaming. I mean, I remember when Atari was the top, and then I remember Atari got bumped off by, I don't even know what the hell happened to these guys. Remember the name ColecoVision?
ColecoVision, absolutely.
And then, of course, they all ended up being morphed by Nintendo, who I guess ended up getting morphed by Xbox and Microsoft. And I guess Nintendo's still around. I don't know what they're doing.
Oh, my kids will definitely tell you that Nintendo's still around.
So, I mean, it's just, this is technology. Simple Game understands, because he's on the technical side of things, and it takes time, and it takes convergence, and it takes a lot of different things coming together. And going back to what we're just talking about with the AI and the jobs, this is where I think people underestimate the impact, because when these things start to converge, it's going to go at a pace that is going to blow our minds. And 2-3 years, you could see hundreds of millions of jobs across the planet just wiped out in a couple of years' time. So bringing it back to Leo, it's like, give it some time. It's the same thing with Hive. It's the same thing with blockchain. I mean, we're not even, or maybe we're probably not even 10 years into the smart contracts yet. We haven't even figured out how to use this crap. We're like babes in the diapers right now still.
I am going to get a couple of questions here from the Threadcast that we put up earlier. Lisa wants to know, and you did answer her, but I'm gonna put it out there anyways. She says, for news on Leo, should I only be posting headlines and not links to articles themselves? You did respond, but do you want to?
Yeah, I responded by saying it's up to you. Obviously, if you put the article link in the thread at the top level, it won't show up. So you want to drop it as a reply. But news on Leo that's a tag. Use it however you want.
Right.
Bradley, I think, is actually he's dropping in a piece of a part of the article into a reply of the thread. So. You can do whatever you want with it. News on Leo is just an idea to get so people who are on Leo aren't totally oblivious to what's going on in the world. You know, why should we try to bring people to Leo if everybody's going to run back to Twitter to find out what the hell's going on?
Well, I'll share testimony here. And I've seen this actually on threads over the weekend. I found out late breaking news. Now, it wasn't earth shattering news or anything, but I found news by scrolling threads before anywhere else. So this stuff is working for the people that have made a digital home on threads. If you're going to Twitter every 2 seconds, you'll probably end up finding it on Twitter. But if you're on threads and you're scrolling threads, you're engaging with threads, and people are posting these news on Leo updates, you're going to find news on Leo first. And I know that this is the case because that's what happened to me. And I read it all over the weekend. People were saying the same thing.
And if you do go to Twitter and find some news, throw it on Leo. And personally, I just find a headline, I copy it, I copy the headline into the thread, and I just put the news on Leo. And sometimes I add other tags if it's like business or weather or whatever, just so it's there. And obviously, if it's something you want to see. I mean, could I include the article in the comment section? I guess I could, and maybe I'll do that. But, again, it's just a quick hit of information. And it's like, oh, okay, if you're really interested in what, who bombed the U.S. ships, I mean, you can do a quick Google search to find out about that. But, I mean, it's, again, there should be here's something else, John, stretching on the same idea. Dal's, who does wonderful work. If you're not following Dal's, DALZ, give him a follow. And he always pulls information, and he pulled the information for 2023 of all the activity on the different front ends. And everybody was, around the same, some a little bigger, some a little bigger. And then Leo just blew everybody away. Because of threats. And there was like 1.5 million versus, the next closest was like 150,000 or something. I don't know. And to me, it's like, well, that should be like 3 or 4 million at a minimum. Because just think about this news on Leo. How simple is it if you see an article, you see a piece of news to grab the headline, throw it on news on Leo? We should have 100 to 150 a day of just these.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because there's that much news in the world. There's that many people in the world. You have that many people in many different countries. I'm not going to give you New Zealand news. I'm not going to give you Japanese news. I'm not going to, unless it's something that's going to appear like in the Wall Street Journal or something like that, or CNN that makes major global news, I'm not going to get it. But somebody who follows that, somebody in those countries could grab it out of a local paper even and just throw it up there and say, Australian Prime Minister caught, masturbating in the bathroom. Whatever. EPL stuff. I don't come across EPL stuff, but people who follow that know where there's EPL stuff. Grab a headline, throw it on there in News on Leo, with another hashtag for sports. This is the type of stuff that makes it have some value. Even though it's not stickiness, at least it has some value. Congo can get some news.
I'm getting it for sure. Andersino is here in chat. Welcome, sir. Another question here, and this is from Lisa, but Boomer Tunes, and she's got a question for me. She said, when there is a song on Music on Leo that has been recorded and covered by more than one artist group, is there a way to find out who recorded it first? Well, no. I mean, that's you got to look obviously at copyrights and stuff of who was the original writer. That's all publishing information. So I'm pretty sure the publishing information of these songs is not yet on Leo. You'll probably have to do a Wikipedia for it, unless there's a music database somewhere. But that's another use case. Task will say, hey, we should put the publishing information on Leo for these songs. But that's how you would find it. You know, who's the writer? Who owns the publishing? Who, you know, the writer, the producer. That's who.
Yeah, I would think you'd probably have to do a Google search of the song and that, and it probably it might not even be. I mean, I doubt Spotify even has that information.
Oh no.
I think you'd have to go and probably find some site that was pulling it from, like you said, the actual copyright filings and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you got to remember, especially on a lot of these things, you're going to see writers, and it will just say the first letter, then the last name, and unless it's Michael Jackson, M. Jackson, or Q. Jones for Quincy Jones, sometimes you don't know the artist's real name if they're the publisher. You know, so that's why you're going to need a database of the publishing rights and who's the producer and artist, writer, and stuff. So, yeah, it's a good question though. Another one here from Tokenize said, "What's your take on the tokenization of real world assets?" Well, as a token holder of realty tokens, I own properties, literally tokenized real estate properties, about a dozen of them. So I'm all for it. I love getting my rent paychecks every week.
So's Larry Fink, Mr. BlackRock himself. He said, yeah, everything's going to be tokenized now that they're hijacking Bitcoin. Now it's okay for
everyone's
Wall Street,
right?
Wall Street to be involved, but it's the way to go. I mean, it's where everything's going to end up in the next 20 years.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, I think this is real examples of how you can tokenize things, and you know, fractional tokens and stuff like that. Like I've been an investor in realty now for I think 2020. I guess 2020 or 2019. And I've been getting rent payments every single week since then. The only beef I have is it's on my favorite blockchain on the planet. And I tried to take some of the rent out. I didn't have a lot. I might have had like $30 or something in rent tokens. I tried to take
25 in fees.
It was not only that, but I totally sent it to a wrong address. Because it's on XDAI, which is you're still using MetaMask, but it's a completely different blockchain than Ethereum. And then I sent it to my XDAI wallet on crypto.com, but it wasn't the right XDAI because it's wrapped XDAI. And it's just the stupidest, dumbest experience known to mankind. I hate it.
You realize you're not going to be able to use VSC either.
Any of this dumb stuff. This is why I'm dude, this has got me thinking. I just need to sit with what I got. And just like you said, if the wealth is good, hey, hold on. My dog is jumping a 100-pound Rottweiler trying to get on the couch. What's wrong with you? Stupid dog. Anyways. Yeah, you just said it. The future wealth will be on staking. It will be on, this is where the labor stuff is going to go by the way, and it's going to be replaced by the staking stuff. So for me, my mentality is, sounds good. Staking does not require me to think very much, because anytime I got to think and start moving and unwrapping tokens and sending it to this wallet, forget it. Don't want anything to do with it. Maybe I'm naive and I'm in my little bubble here, but I really like Hive. I really like Task. If I'm going to send you some tokens,
but you use Hive Engine.
Sorry?
You use Hive Engine.
Right, but it's, again, usernames. It's all usernames. It's all, I know where I'm sending it to. If I want to send you tokens, I don't need to find your crazy
but that's the same. But if you try to send your Hive Engine to Hive, it's not going to work. They're two separate
Well,
chains.
yeah, but that's why you have that's why when it converts it for you.
Yeah, well, that's why, and
it's
that's going to be the same with VSC. You'll have HBD on there, but it will not be HBD. It'll
No,
be
it's going to be
VHD.
the VSC version of HBD.
Yeah.
I totally get it. That's fine. I'm just saying, as long as I don't have to touch MetaMask or any of that crap, I'm happy.
Well, I mean, you're going to end up with probably wallets that do the same thing with Hive, ultimately. In fact, there isn't there that Clive that they're working on, which is a downloadable wallet. I think that's something that one of the teams is working on.
Yeah. Yeah. Overall, dude, it's the big takeaway from today, and this is why we don't really have a lot of questions because Threads was doing the funky dance this afternoon. But the reason why I'm so bullish on this stuff is because I do agree with what you just said and what Simple Game said. I think that this is still 1995 for all this stuff. And if you have patience, which is definitely not embedded in everybody, and you are not part of the green candle gang, you'll do okay.
Yeah, well, that's the problem is everything is mark to market instantly because you can go look at the price of a token or a coin. Right. And it's like, what was TCP/IP worth? Yeah. Right. What is TCP/IP worth today? No idea because it's not tokenized. What was, Google worth in the early days? Well, it wasn't publicly traded, so nobody knew. What was Facebook worth? Nobody knew. And that's the difference. It's everybody just looks at the price and says, well, that must tell me what the value of stuff is. Right. No, exactly. It doesn't.
Exactly.
It doesn't. Just because BSC has a much higher market cap than Hive does not mean BSC is going to be the long-term winner against Hive. In fact, I would bet against BSC and for Hive in that instance because BSC has, in my opinion, certain headwinds that are that it's not necessarily going to disappear, but I could see BSC being another Yahoo. It's not going to be one of the leaders going forward.
Wow. There you go. Bold news, sir. Any other questions in the comments section there? I know, again, Threads, not having a Threadcast is killing my soul right now.
It's amazing how we get used to stuff. We did this show for over 2 years without a Threadcast, and now it's like, oh my God, we don't have a Threadcast. How do we operate?
I feel like my legs are cut off.
What's
I feel like my legs are cut off without it. Like I think Threadcast is a killer feature of Leo. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
I agree. It's
what's with the new avatar? What, my new avatar? Well, that's just a Leo team thing. That's Eric thought it'd be a good idea to for everyone, on the Leo team to basically have a nice yellow background in our face. He did all of those, which was mind-blowing to me because he said he did it with Canva. What a savvy guy Eric is. I mean, give it up to a nomad soul. It didn't do well in the poll. That's okay. Simple Game. I'm okay with that. I know people liked my books. That was, I don't know. I have nothing.
You still got your Bills for another week.
Oh, I got my big shout out to the Buffalo Bills for delaying my stress level for another 6 days. Grateful for that. Always fun. I know Task is a huge sports guy.
I used to be till I realized it's like cancer rotting your brain.
It really is. And then what will happen once the NFL season is done? I will end my subscription to the streaming service, and I will try not to think about it until September.
till draft day. Till you
Till
watch
draft
draft
day.
day.
Yeah, who am I kidding? That's the thing with the NFL. They do a really good job at that. The season really never ends in the NFL. There might be like a 3-week lull in the summer. But it is
like during mini camp and shit.
Even
only
just
news out
before
of that
mini
is
camp, there's just like 3 weeks where no of the
Yeah,
players are reporting. There's
and everything's quiet unless like one of the star players tears an ACL. Then there's the news out of minicamp.
Yeah.
But outside of that, if nobody gets hurt, nobody gives a shit. It's like, who cares? What is it? And then there's the other one. Oh wait, you got the rookie camp, then you got minicamp.
Mini camp, rookie
and
camp,
you also
OTAs.
have like,
Don't forget OTAs.
OTAs.
Yes, I do think they can beat the Swifties. I know Task is a big fan of the Swifties, so he will be rooting.
I'm just anti-Bill. So
anti-Bills.
I hope Patrick Mahomes proves he's the better man. Which, Patrick Mahomes late this season, he proved that he's just a whining bitch too. Sitting there, not being a man, blaming the officials, blaming this. Oh, Tony should have been given a warning. No, Tony's a dumbass. He was he lined up in the other team's secondary. It wasn't like his foot was on the line. He was like 3 yards.
Yeah, the guy was all the way downfield. So.
Yeah, he was like 3 yards offsides. And it's like, how do you line up offsides as a wide receiver? Yeah. Look where the ball is, you dumbass. And I can speak because he was a first-round pick of the Giants. And he was a dumbass. Still is a dumbass.
This is fun. I listen to a lot of Bill's podcasts and stuff, and this is what they're all trying to do. They're trying to get all the people in Buffalo and Orchard Park who own the suites to refuse to sell Taylor and the Kelsey clan any of the box suites in Highmark Stadium, and she'll have to be out in the elements. That's what everyone's trying to do. So they're trying to make her be with the common folk if she's coming to the game to watch her boyfriend.
So you're admitting on air that Bills fans are scumbags.
Absolutely, for sure. Scummiest, but not as scummy as Philly fans. I mean, I think Philly is probably the cream of the crop. But dude, they throw dildos on the field. I mean,
it's tough to beat Philly fans.
People are like freaking. Oh, they're throwing snowballs yesterday. I'm like, dude, they throw dildos. You think if there's a snowball beside them,
they throw batteries in Philadelphia? I mean, at their own players.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. So, yeah, it is. I gotta get out of this. I agree with you. Simple game. It's the Roman Coliseum, and I should know better. And anyways, I should be focusing on other things.
Just think about if all the hours spent watching NFL football or any sport, NBA, all that was spent on Threads, was spent on reading books, was spent on higher learning, was spent on your relationship. Think about how much further people would be in their life.
This is a intervention. I understand.
It's like watching reruns of Seinfeld. It's like you've seen them every episode.
Yeah, you know what's going to happen. You're going to get pissed off at the refs. I just noticed that John is wearing what I think is a Blue Jays shirt. Yes. And I got an Oilers hat. Yes. And I'm discussing the Bills. Yeah, dude. I mean, here's the thing, too. Before we get out of here, I won't drag this on, but let me be really honest. I'm at the point in my life now. My wife is just like, why don't you go shopping for new clothes and stuff? I'm just like, because I think that's a waste of money. I
agree.
So
I do the same thing.
Who am I impressing? People are like, oh, I have like my hats. I got my Raptors hat. I got my Oilers hat. I got my Bills hat. I have my choice of hats here. I don't have any other ones. These are my three. Because if I'm wearing my bald head to you guys, I would blind you with the light. Anyways. Yes. Thank you guys for coming and rocking with us. Little bit of housekeeping. Tomorrow, Leo Live, La Olive will be 11 a.m. Eastern. So if you guys would like to come and hang out with yours truly, I will be on La Olive show. And then that's what the brand.
That's funnier than shit.
It's Leo Live. I Leo Live is the hashtag, but then I think it was Who was it? Someone mentioned that I just can't help but thinking that says La Olive.
Yeah.
And then it just, yeah, it's great. But then Thursday we'll be back for another Maniacs. Crossing fingers that Threads is back up because we need that Threadcast for you guys. Because I'd love to upvote you guys here, but I can't because it's on YouTube. So
Web 2 doesn't have that.
have a fantastic night, folks, and we will see you Thursday. Toodles.
Ciao.